Well, hello and good morning, evening or afternoon, depending on when you are streaming this, the latest episode of Edie's Susty Talk. If this is your first Susty Talk with us, a warm welcome. This is our video interview series designed to keep us all feeling connected to sustainability leaders during COVID-19 and beyond. And for Edie's Engagement Week 2021, which is this week, we are having some specially themed interviews with some special guests, one of whom I'm delighted to welcome today, and that is Vanessa Butani, who is Head of Sustainability for Electrolux Group. So thank you so much, Vanessa, for your time. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, and thanks for having me.
No, thank you for sparing the time. I understand it's super busy for you at the moment.
It is, but I enjoy doing these kinds of things too. It's fun to talk to people and hear what's going on in the industry too.
Of course, and I know that your role that you're in at the moment is fairly new to yourself, so it'd be great to hear a little bit more about your remit and how that works with the broader sustainability team. Because I know, am I right in thinking that you were in Electrolux in sustainability and appliances for a while, and then recently rejoined?
Exactly. I thought I'd take a step back and just tell you a little bit about Electrolux so we kind of set the scene here.
Yep.
So we're a global company. We have 48,000 people around the world. The brands that we have are, of course, Electrolux, AEG, Frigidaire, and Zanussi, which I think you probably know fairly well here in the UK. We sell about 60 million appliances in 120 markets every year. So that really gives us a great opportunity to reach people and to help them be more sustainable. But you're right, I rejoined Electrolux at the beginning of January to lead sustainability for Europe. I had previously worked for Electrolux for 8 years. Then I left for about 3 years and I just came back. And I came back because this opportunity was so exciting. Because my goal for Europe is really to help us to reach consumers with our sustainability actions, to show them that we can help them be sustainable without compromising on the results that they can get, and really help people make a behavioral shift. So, for example, we can talk about this more later, but we know that lowering the temperature that you do your laundry and really can have a big impact on the environment, but also will help you take care of your clothes much better. So this is something we really believe in, and we also know that what we call the use phase of our appliances is what's really important. So if you look at the lifetime impact of an appliance on the environment, of course, there's an impact when you produce that product with the raw materials that you use and how you do it in the factory. But really, the big impact is when you have that product at home and you use it every single day. So for us, really what's important is to make sure, of course, that we make fantastic products that are much more resource efficient. But we also have to teach people about those products, make sure that they understand what they have and how they can use it. And again, help them to change their behavior to both use it better in a way that will give them better results, but also have a great impact on the environment. And I mean, now also the other part of my job really is knowing that I can't do this by myself, obviously. So the big thing for me is to reach out to all of my colleagues who are super passionate and committed to sustainability and just try to push that energy in the right direction so we're all working towards the same thing. And because we're all ambassadors too, right? So we're all consumers of the products, we use them ourselves. So we need to know how to do it properly as well and make sure we get that message out. So in my new role, I'm going to be leading sustainability, or I am leading sustainability now for the company, which is super exciting for me. And I think, what I bring with me really is in the short time still that I was in Europe, but I managed to learn a lot and talk to a lot of people and understand kind of the local condition and what we really need out in our markets, that I can bring that perspective now with me also into a global role, and also, of course, learn about all the other markets as well. So I'm really happy about this, and yeah, looking forward to doing a little bit more.
Great. Well, we've had a great taster there, which obviously shows why I was so keen to talk to you for Engagement Week. So you talked about consumer engagement and how that's really important because a lot of the impact lies in the use phase. So it's all well and good to make products that save, for example, water and energy. And some companies go for like sustainability by stealth, like it just does it. Just saves the
That's a good way to put it, sustainability by stealth.
But you mentioned that it's really important to communicate that and to engage people beyond just the product themselves. So I'd love to hear some of your learnings from that.
Sure. I mean, I think for us, the consumer engagement starts with trying to understand people, their habits, their behaviors, and of course their needs, right? So we really look at, for example, if we talk about laundry, we look at how people are doing their laundry today. What do they find easy? What is difficult? What's annoying? And what do they kind of just do out of habit, right? And then we also look at every step that consumers take in their journey with a product. So thinking about how we can support them at every step, from when they're thinking about that they need a new product, or they're in an emergency because it's broken down, how they try and find that product, what kind of things they're looking for, and then of course, as I said, when we bring it into their home, how do they get started with that product, like start using it the first time they use it, the first month. We know that's when people are really open to learning about the product, to trying different things perhaps. And here we can come in with tips and tricks to help them use it in the best way. And then, of course, we have a contact center for when we have issues with the products. And we know it happens, right? But then we have a great opportunity to talk to people as well. Of course, we need to make sure we get the product up and running again as quickly as possible. But then we can also tell people, this perhaps happened because there was a clog. Maybe you can maintain your product in this way, or you can do this, or did you know that we have this setting that you could try, or something like that. We haven't really gotten it right yet, right? But we're working on it, and we're refining our methods all the time, and trying to find ways to reach out. The key thing for me is really not to point fingers at people and say, this is wrong and you can't do that, and but try and make it positive reinforcement. So showing, if you do this, here's an impact that you can have. So I want to make people feel like they're a hero, like, oh, I'm doing my bit in everything that I'm doing. So giving them ideas about what they can do instead of what they shouldn't do, and talking about things that they care about, of course, as well. So for laundry, again, the idea is we want to have clean clothes, but we don't want to wreck those clothes when we're washing them as well. And we know that there's so many things we can do to do it better. If I can take a concrete example of what we're doing to really try and engage people, we have now our Make It Last campaign, which we're running across Europe and Asia Pacific. So it's really about make it last, make your clothes last, make the product last. And it comes from the insight that we can really help people change their habits, change their behavior, take care of their clothes better so that the clothes will last longer, and do their bit for the environment at the same time. And I think it's so important that that goes hand in hand, right? That you, again, not just telling people just do it for the environment, because I think also there is that, I mean, that's not everybody's prime goal, even though everybody would be happy to contribute, right? The goal is to clean your clothes properly. So we know so many things that you can do that do it or give it to you hand in hand, which is just a win-win, right? So we ran a study called The Truth About Laundry. And that was across Europe to really get a better understanding of what are people doing, what are their habits, and how are they doing their laundry, and how can then we come in and help them or give them tips on what they can change. So we got input from 12,000 people across Europe, across the various markets, and we got some really interesting results. And now we can use the information to reach out to people, right, in different ways and try and influence their behaviors. So a couple of the results that we saw I can share are that 63% of Europeans still do their laundry at 40 degrees. And I think many of us think, yeah, of course, 40 degrees. And actually, for me, now having come back to Electrolux and learning more about this, I've understood I have been doing my laundry at 40 degrees as well. But we know that by reducing to 30 degrees, for one, it's better for your clothes. They come out just as clean. And I mean, we have such great features in the actual products and with the detergents. So you get a great result with your clothes. And also you can save the environment so much. I think it's about 1.3 million cars per year that would be removed off the street if we would all start doing our laundry at 40 degrees. So it's a big impact we can have with just a small temperature drop. We kind of joke about that 30 is the new 40, right? It's a bit silly, but really think about this, drop from 40 to 30. And for me, it's really made a big impact. Like I always do that now when I do my laundry as well. 59% of people we know do their laundry in the way that they were taught by their parents, who were taught by their parents, who were taught by their parents. Of course, we have machines now, but you kind of go on autopilot, right? And you just do what you always do, or you do what your parents said, this is how to do it. But like I said, in that first period of time when people have their machine and they're starting to learn it, we can show them that, you know what, you've bought a great machine. You can use it in a different way. You don't have to do it the way that you were taught, because you can actually get better results by doing that. Also, we know, for example, that 41% of people are using fabric conditioner when they're washing their outdoor gear. And that is just actually bad for the clothing, to use the conditioner. So we need to get that message through to people to help them, and it's something that, of course, people would appreciate to know that. An example of what we've done is in Russia, we ran a big campaign to get people to think about taking care of their jeans better. So we saw that people were washing their jeans way too much and not wearing them enough. And we know from, for example, Levi's, that you can wear your jeans at least 10 times, at least, before you wash them. So we just started a campaign to start mobilizing people and see what would happen and get people to sign up to, okay, I'm not going to wash my jeans. And it was great because I think it was something that was so clear and such a clear message to people. And, you know, the idea about you're actually making your jeans last longer. So these are your favorite jeans. If you wash them too much, you won't be able to have them that long. And at the same time, you're really doing something great. You're saving water and saving energy as well.
So lots of good learnings there. So about nudging and about getting people to take ownership and about, yeah, showing those co-benefits. So longer lasting clothes and lower energy bills as well.
And longer lasting product too, right?
Yes.
When you use it in the right way. Yeah. So I mean, there's so much to do, but I think this is what's fun. It's when you can try and reach out to consumers and see how the little things that you can do to change behavior.
Great. And we've covered in quite some depth there some consumer engagement campaigns, but you mentioned that another big part of your job is engaging your colleagues. As you said, everyone can be an ambassador for this in the company culture, such as the one that Electrolux has. But you also mentioned that the company has more than 48,000 people. So I'd love to hear about how you engage staff and let them know about the part that they have to play. And then I'm not really sure about what the COVID situation is in Sweden where you are, or whether that engagement has had to change because of the events of the past year or so as well.
Sure, we can talk about that. One of the big things that we've done that I would say that isn't so visible, especially outside of Electrolux, but we've included sustainability targets in our management incentives. And that's actually a really big deal, right? Because to me, that really shows that we're taking this seriously. When we put that into part of the targets of what we want everyone to achieve, to focus on, it becomes really clear that that's what's important. So that was a big step for us that we introduced last year, and that will continue. So looking at our emissions targets there. But in addition to that, we're also working to make sure that our strategy is sustainable. So that's another kind of important switch that we're making. We talk about we have a sustainable strategy, not a sustainability strategy, because a sustainability strategy is sort of something on the side of your regular strategy that you can decide that, well, we don't need that anymore. But now we're really integrating sustainability into our strategy, into everything that we do, from how we design the products to the operations and production to how we think along every step of the consumer journey, as I was mentioning before. And I think that is also, when you make that realization, that when you integrate sustainability, then you can really raise your business and take it to the next level. That's when you can really make an impact as well, in many ways. And then, of course, we do things to reach out to our colleagues as well to get them talking and thinking. So, for example, actually, one thing that we've done now is that study that I mentioned earlier. We've actually studied our colleagues as well. So 1,000 people across Europe have answered those same questions. And we're just compiling the results right now. So I actually don't have everything. But the first thing I can see is this 40-degree, 30-degree thing is something that we're going to have to talk about internally as well. But again, I think it was just really interesting to run that study so we compare ourselves. And again, then we can work together and nudge ourselves to be the ambassadors that I was talking about before. Another thing we do was last week we had Earth Day. So we celebrated Earth Day across all of our operations site and talked about what kinds of things we're doing to get to climate neutral operations. And I think doing stuff like that, and then there was tons of activities around and across the various sites, shows people also, you know, how are you having an impact? You know, this isn't just, okay, it's a nice goal for Electrolux, but, you know, me and my factory, we're working with things like zero landfill and, you know, celebrating when we get to that, because it's a big deal when we don't send anything to landfill from our factory. And we're all part of the team that has done that. We're moving to renewable energy, looking at the transportations and the delivery, and of course, using a digital transformation that we're doing to improve our energy management as well.
Right.
So all of these things, you know, I think a lot of it is about communication and sharing with our team members more of what we're doing, but also, as I was saying from the beginning, getting them involved and showing them what's your role in this, and sort of using the power of that whole team, you know. 18,000 people across Europe, 48,000 people across the whole group. That's a lot of people that can get a lot of stuff done. When it comes to COVID, I would say the engagement definitely hasn't changed. However, of course, we've had to adjust our ways of working. But I think actually it's brought us in a funny way closer to each other and to the communities where we are. So we've done a lot of things to try and reach out and support our local communities. We've got really strict what do you call it, like regulations or ways of how we, you know, if I want to go to the office, it's extremely strict what I have to do, and at the plants as well, how we make sure we try and control or try not to spread more of the disease. It's not that easy, of course. But for example, in North America, you know, all the kids had to come home from school, and then they wouldn't get a lunch at school in some cases. So then the communities were starting to organize lunches that people could pick up and bring home to their kids. But then a lot of people were working, so they couldn't get there. So then we organized a truck that could take that lunch and bring it to our factory so people could grab the food, bring it, and then the kids would have that for the next day at home. So we're trying to help out and do that within our own community, but then of course outside of the community, where we last year delivered 33,000 meals across Europe to support people during the pandemic. So I think it's heightened this feeling of togetherness and involvement in the community.
Yeah, there's definitely this feeling that people want these local solutions and to be part of a team, purely maybe just because we feel a bit more disconnected from it in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great to hear about all of that work. And I just have one more question. So we've run over engagement with colleagues and with consumers, but I'd love to talk a bit more about board level engagement, because when you go on the Electrolux website, as you say, it's pretty obvious that they're shifting to make sustainability not a separate strategy, part of the business, and it shines through in the communications and in the ways that the business always scores really well in things like CDP, Dow Jones. It always comes out in that top cohort of businesses. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how your team communicates with the board.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, this is really something that has come from, like I said, from the factory floor all the way up to the boardrooms and things we're talking about. I'm really excited to continue working with our board the way my predecessor has as well. And they've taken some really important steps to make us more sustainable, right? So of course they get continuous updates of what we're doing and approve our plans, right? So we, for example, when it came to the LTI program, or the incentive program I was mentioning to you, with putting sustainability as part of the targets, that of course had to be reviewed in the remuneration committee, where the chairman of the board also joined to talk through what does that mean and how's this going to work, and they approve it every year as well to make sure that we continue and that we are pushing ourselves toward the targets. So that's very important. And then of course we have a sustainability board internally in the company that puts together all the material that is then shared by our CEO with the board to make sure that we're delivering on our targets going forward. So there's a lot of good engagement there, and I think a lot of support and a lot of pushing, which is good too.
Fantastic. Well, Vanessa, that's all the questions I have time for today. I'd love to stay and chat a bit longer, but I'm sure we can just catch up real soon. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me.